Last week, I launched my own sticker business. Here's how I made the designs.
Right after I made the initial plan to do the 5 flavor profiles, I immediately did a ton of brainstorming, like sticky notes on sticky notes of which each flavor could be, and I was asking literally everyone in my life, hey, what sweet foods do you like? What sour foods do you like? And just writing it down, making lists, and even then I feel like I still didn't get enough foods because looking back I think of other things that I could have added. But after I got all the ideas, I gathered reference on Pinterest. It was just a lot of food photography photos, and I'd only did one color study before this, so painting was a little daunting going into it. But once I started studying them, I also started to see like personalities and faces in the different foods, and so I started adding those in, and that's literally the only reason that the other foods ended up getting personified later on. But painting was a bit too much of a daunting task for me early on, which is why I kind of gave up on the blueberries and started doing the layout. And one thing that I learned from doing the layouts of all these is I definitely did not put enough thought into my bordering for each page. And one mistake that I just wish I didn't make from the beginning was the sizing of each document. I worked on Procreate and I made each sheet like a full page size when I could have just made them all half page sizes, and then I ended up cropping them all later on and it was just a whole thing. And for the bordering, like the first prints with them looked weird, and it was odd at first. Honestly, the initial sketch is closer to what the final ended up looking like, but it wasn't my plan. The best thing for me during this process for learning how to actually paint was just diving right in and having to do it. Like doing these color studies and then immediately just splotching them on and having to figure out what brushes and what textures I could do to recreate how the colors were like smeared on the reference really helped me understand how color and light works indirectly, just having to do all of these. And I think it helped me grow a lot in my painting skills. The sour page was probably my favorite to design and paint. It was the same process of getting everyone's like favorite sour foods and getting them all together. But this is kind of when I started having my process down. Like even in the layout sketch, you see that I already kind of have them where I want them to be. And this is also when the ideas that I was getting from the food stuff felt like they started morphing into something new instead of just being like, oh, a list of my favorite foods and foods people like. I mean, in this one, there's the Sour Patch Kids playing with gummy worms, and that was such a cool concept to me. The other foods were still fun to paint, like the pickle and the crunch, but the Sour Patch Kids really stood out to me the most on this page, that and the Sour Belts. The sour page is also where I ran into some of my first stumps. The glasses, like the lemonade and the pickle jar specifically, were a little confusing for me to learn how the reflection would work, especially with the clear background behind it. And the grapefruit too, the texture of it, I really had a hard time figuring out what brushes and textures I could do to emulate that without actually drawing each pulp, because in the 8 weeks I barely had the time to actually make the sticker designs. But speaking of the backgrounds, the background that I ended up choosing for the sour page was a bit more intentional with the zigzag strong lines. And the sweet one, I made them round because that's kind of the vibe that Sweet gave off. Like I got kind of a Ratatouille vibe from it, and I was kind of continuing that here, but as we move on to the other pages, I get a bit more creative with the background elements. Like with the salty page, which by the way feels like the most full page that I made. Like I was definitely getting a little bit of creative burnout after this. But going into this page, I really liked the concept of these star shapes to like represent salt crystals or just salt in general. And so I immediately wanted to put them as the background since I was doing shapes and stuff. And it also made me want to include it in a bunch of the design. You see there's a lot of stars scattered around here, and the intention was for it to kind of give off like a super salty texture, like when you get fresh crisp fries out of a restaurant. Wonder if it came off like that. Overall though, with the salty page, the textures weren't as hard for me to paint. I was getting more used to it, and with this page I really just had a lot of fun with the designs. Like, I really liked the Parmesan old guy scratching his back, and like the two little peanuts in love, like all the stuff here. I think I'm most proud of this page. Like, the sour was the most fun to paint, but I'm most proud of the salty page. When sketching savory, I had a lot of fun ideas, but I was starting to get a bit of that creative burnout, and I was getting really frustrated, especially with the fish design of the I'm Cooked, because I really wanted like a cooked salmon fish looking thing on one of those boards talking out speaking, and I was just having such a hard time getting the angle of the head. That's why there's a sticky note on the page that I was sketching, because I just couldn't get that. And then even once I was painting, I was getting a little frustrated with it, and some of the designs on this page I wasn't like the happiest with, like the steak specifically. I mean, I don't think it looks bad. It doesn't excite me as much as the other ones did. I think I was definitely just like hitting a wall a little bit here. The good ideas I did have for this page really did flourish though. I think the fried rice looked amazing, and the ramen in the pot, like a hot tub, I really like that idea, especially since like I ate nothing but ramen for like 2 years straight after 2020. And I think my favorite is obvious here, the centerpiece mushroom, watching the little mushroom babies. I think that one looks the cutest to me. And even though I couldn't include my umami flavor when I changed it to savory, I still decided to include the molecule for yeast, which is like the flavor that's prominent in like savory or umami. Thought it was a pretty cool Easter egg. I don't know if like culinary people would get it, or if that was like a common fact, but that's what those shapes are back there, if you couldn't tell. I don't think I mentioned, but the pages were originally going to be sweet, sour, salty, umami, and bitter, and it felt like mainly just culinary people knew that, and that's what my friend Dawn kept telling me, so you can all thank him that we have some cohesive pages with alliteration. Finally, the spicy page. This is the one I was probably feeling the most burnout when I was making, but looking back, I do appreciate a lot of the ideas here, and I do really like the page still. There's just a lot of ideas that I feel like I also could have included, because there's literally so much spicy food. But when I first had the spicy idea, I thought like maybe like every pepper on the Scoville scale, which is why you see a lot of those here. And then I asked a lot of my friends, and they told me about some foods I hadn't heard about, like a chili, which was like just some really spicy, I don't know if it was a seed or a plant, but I mean it's right there. I never actually tried it, I just saw the pictures. And I put jerk chicken here. I hadn't tried it myself before, but it was fun to paint, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people confuse it for just regular chicken wings anyway. I think my favorite designs here though have to be the sriracha and the little chips coming out of the molcajete. Walking away from this, I definitely learned a lot, and I definitely gained a lot of skills in painting and observing. but I did get very close to burning out. And if anyone's doing a project similar to this or is using this as any sort of learning lesson, my takeaway would be definitely planning as the biggest thing, because I planned so much and somehow it still seems like I didn't plan enough. And to pace yourself. I mean, I gave myself 8 weeks to do these and I still had more goals that I wanted to do, and I still didn't even get the other ones done. So this was also a big learning lesson on how much time it takes me to complete projects. Thank you for watching my design process. If you want to know the materials for printing, cutting, and shipping, leave a comment below and I might make a video about that next. If you like these sticker sheets, they're available for purchase on my website, and you can use code THANKYOU at checkout for 20% off. And if you enjoyed this video and want to keep up with me, I'm active on all my social media at Daryl Draws. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.